Zach's Mind Writes was reviewing the episode with Christian Harloff, John Schnepp, and John Campea, where you guys were reacting to the horrendous failure of the latest Fantastic Four movie and the political turmoil between Josh Trank and the Fox execs. It occurs to me that Edgar Wright had Ant-Man taken from him by Marvel and Disney under circumstances that, while not identical, share some similarities with Josh Trank's departure from Fantastic Four. At the time when Wright was removed, it looked like all hope was lost, but Ant-Man worked out despite his removal. Can you help me understand how Ant-Man turned out to be entertaining despite the removal of Wright, whereas Fantastic Four fell apart from a similar removal of Trank?
Yeah, a fair question on the surface, but honestly, you couldn't have two completely more different scenarios. Like with Ant-Man, this was a situation where Edgar Wright was on it for years and years and years and years. And what ultimately happened was, like, he was developing Ant-Man as the MCU was just kind of forming and being put together. So that by the time, and Marvel liked the idea that he had, but by the time we got around to when Ant-Man was actually kind of almost ready to be made, the Marvel higher-ups, Kevin Feige, realized that Ant movie, which we liked 4 years ago, in theory and in principle, or 5 years ago, how long? It was a long time. In principle, it doesn't fit with this universe we have now. We need to change it and make it a different movie. And I totally respect Kevin Feige for that, for wanting to keep the integrity of the universe that they have right now. At the same time, I totally admire Edgar Wright for saying, this is the passion project I've been working on. This is the movie I want to make. And I totally admire him wanting to maintain the integrity of the project that he was making. But the decision then for them to part ways happened long before they ever put anything in front of a camera. So that was that situation. The thing with Trank and Fox is that everything really hit the fan once they started shooting the movie. That's when it was far too late at that point. Like, that's when you start having, shooting behind the director's back, all this stuff about trouble on set, changing the visual effects supervisor on them, taking away the edit and all that. Like, you just had a massive recipe for something that happened while the movie was actually shooting, pulling out key major set piece scenes that were in all the trailers, which we talked about yesterday. Whereas the Ant-Man scenario, totally different. All that stuff got worked out long before they ever put in front of the cameras. By the time they were ready to shoot Ant-Man, they had in stone what their movie was and how it was going to be. And so they're actually two very different scenarios. What am I missing in all this, Christian? How would you see
Not
it?
much. All I would say is that you guys can guess which pile is which. But right here you have creative differences, respect, and here you have a toxic pool. That's really what it comes down to, because, like you were saying, Marvel knew the direction where they wanted to go, and Edgar Wright, like you said, had this vision of Ant-Man, and then things changed because of all these other movies that just had success. And like, look, we have to go in this direction because this is a story that needs to be told. He's like, well, I don't necessarily want to tell that story. Okay, great. Then we respect you. You respect us. Everything was nice. And
very amicable.
People were upset, but it was fans. It was other people that were upset because everyone loves Edgar Wright. Yeah. But even if he was upset, he didn't go public with it, and he kept it in, and he kept a good relationship. As where on the other side of the thing, you had just a property that the studio had no idea what to do with it. It's failed in the past, and then they didn't trust in their director. And it wasn't that Marvel didn't trust in Edgar Wright; it's that they just didn't have the same vision. That's a difference. Because if Edgar Wright would have said, hey, look, I want to shoot your version of it, they're going to let him shoot their version of it and do what he's going to do because it's Edgar Wright and they trust him. Fox didn't trust Josh Trank, and they took whatever he filmed and then just reworked it and did some other, whatever the speculation. It sure seems like for all the footage that he shot and stuff that he did that never made the cut, they didn't believe in him. So it was just a pure mess over there, as opposed to people who had just had two different versions of what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sports and movies are very similar in a lot of things, because you could have the greatest players on the field, but if there's nobody around to lead them, or the GM doesn't believe in the manager, and then the manager doesn't want to deal with the GM, and then the owner doesn't like either one of them, that toxicity comes down the pipe way quicker than you think in everything, in life and sports, and especially in a movie, and especially a superhero movie.
Yeah.
And even worse than that, you're talking about a remake of a couple of movies that really didn't do that well either, and were sort of a joke. And this was like
But they were probably thinking, it can't get any worse.
Right, right.
Yeah, turns out.
And also,
Tim Story's going,
gotcha. You have Marvel that runs a heck of an organization, right? Anytime they do something, they want it to be the best it can be. Fox was like, we need to get this out, and I don't care how it's done. and talk behind people's back.
It was a mess.
It's terrible.
You know, it kind of, I mean, this is a little to home issues. Like, you're so right about that, about how sports, movies, but any organization really, that toxicity that you guys are talking about. Like, honestly, when, like, around here, whenever we are bringing or potentially bringing somebody new in, the first question we always ask, even before talent, the first question we always ask is, will this person click with what we're doing here? And whenever we're thinking about like bringing new people in or increasing somebody, whatever, we get groups of us talking like, hey, is this a good fit? Does this work? Because honestly, like you see us laughing up here when we're in our boardroom table, when we're in our office talk, like we legitimately enjoy being here, and we hope that that kind of comes through as well. But both of you guys are absolutely right. Like, if you don't have that healthy relationship, respect, all that kind of stuff, then you can't expect anything but poison fruit at the end.
Well, look, here's a question. Would you be more surprised? This to answer the question right off the bat. Like, would you be more surprised if I told you, hey, guess what? Edgar Wright's actually doing another movie with Marvel, or Josh Trank doing another movie with Fox?
Yeah. One scenario is wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
I'm glad that worked
The other
out.
one is a hell freezing over kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.